Hey, what's up guys, Ara here, and welcome back to a brand new video on my channel in 2021, and welcome back to my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, and this is pre-season for season number 6. Now, we had a rather thrilling season number 5, didn't we? It went right down to the wire between myself, Pierre Gasly, and technically Max Verstappen. We had a season-long battle with us three, and also added in with Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Antonio Giovinazzi, Lance Stroll, Lando Norris, the list goes on. It was such a competitive Season 5, and that's why I'm so excited for Season 6, because it can only get better, I think. You know, we've got a regulation change, so that may mix things up, but I think generally speaking, it's going to be hard for the field spread to get really too large. So I think, you know, even if the regulations do change and the teams do spread out a little bit going into this brand new season, I think soon enough we'll get right back to the very close racing we enjoyed so much of last season, basically. So it's going to be a very exciting time in that kind of sense, and also it's an even more exciting time because, of course, if you guys did watch right to the end of this season finale of Season 5, I gave you guys a vote and a very important decision regarding a sponsor selection. Now, not just any sponsor selection, a full takeover title sponsor selection, and the choices were Monster Energy juice drink, we've got Gulf Oil, Martini, and then Vodafone. And you guys voted, and the majority have gone for Vodafone. Now, when I opened up this vote, I did also let you guys know that each sponsor would essentially have its own domino effect for which teammate I would sign going into this season and what even engine I would decide. Each sponsor basically had its own little story that I built up in my head that we're going to go for Season 6. And you guys have chosen Vodafone. And I'm very excited to let you guys know essentially what story you guys have chosen for Season 6 for our team. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited by this. I think we should start the transition now before we even end the season technically in game. So just like that, you can see the official team colours have become red, white and black, and the name in the top right is Vodafone Arava Archer Racing. We won't quite add the engine quite yet to the name. We'll do that a little bit later because I want to kind of save that reveal, but I'm going to let you guys know now essentially what you guys have bought into for Season 6 by allowing Vodafone to come in and take over the team as the main title sponsor. Now, I've had this idea actually for Vodafone for quite a while, sitting in my pocket, and I thought it would be really nice to one day do it in this series, and so that's why I'm actually quite happy that you guys actually voted for majority for Vodafone, because I think it's a really exciting story. So as we go on through to the end of this season, not much admin to do, just working through everything, getting the last bit of resources, but we've got that important contract renewal coming up, and what we're going to be doing with Vodafone Arava Archer Racing is looking to sign this man, Lewis Hamilton. Now, this potential signing, of course, that means a lot of things here for our team, and that means a lot of things for this series, because, of course, Hamilton in our My Team Career Mode series is not the same Hamilton that we know in real life, you know, dominating the sport at the moment. In this game, if you've been following along for at least the last season, but if you've been following along for the last 3 seasons, ever since Season 2, you'll know Lewis Hamilton's AI in this career mode save of mine has just not been the same AI. He has not been the same person, the same driver, and he has had a woeful amount of bad luck and just bad form, really, as of late, especially last season. There wasn't really much bad luck. It was just bad driving from him compared to his, current teammate, Max Verstappen. But we're going to go ahead and sign Lewis Hamilton, and the story here with this teammate signing for this season is going to be a bit of a redemption arc, a bit of a revival. I want to try and see if we can revive Lewis Hamilton. You know, at the moment in this My Team Career Mode world of ours, Hamilton, he's going through a bad bit of form, so it's up to us. That's going to be the challenge this season, taking him under our wing and try to see if we can resurrect him, get him back to where he used to be. And obviously the added kind of perk of this entire story with Vodafone coming in as our title sponsor, and we're going after Hamilton, and I can reveal what we're going to actually be doing is we're going to be signing Mercedes as our new power unit supplier. So yes, we are reuniting the great combination. Lewis Hamilton there is going to be in Vodafone Mercedes overalls, in a Vodafone Mercedes-powered car. Obviously, it's not going to be McLaren per se, it's going to be Arrow Archer Racing, but it's still going to be such a lovely little throwback, I think, to his older times in Formula 1. And I'll add in at the same time, Hamilton's helmet is also going to be changing back to that classic yellow that he used to rock when he was at McLaren, when they had the Vodafone silver livery. For now, I'm not going to show you the livery just yet. We've got a few bit of admin to go through before we get to that brand new season and the car reveal. And one of them is actually another bit of driver news. Sergio Perez in the AlphaTauri team is going to be retiring out of Formula 1. Bit of a shame because AlphaTauri were quite an exciting team. Of course, remember season 4, they were massively quick. Season 5, didn't see too much of them, but it was quite a nice pairing of Perez and Bottas. So it's a bit of a shame there. So we're losing Sergio Perez from the grid, so he's going to be out of Formula 1. So we might get a brand new F2 driver coming into the mix. So again, the driver market's going to change a little bit. Probably not that much, unfortunately, now with the game, with the way it worked. But now, crucially, before we end off this season, we've got a very important task at hand, is trying to adapt as many R&D parts as we can going into Season 6. Now, if you did watch the previous season, you'll know the regulation change has come, and we're going to be resetting the engine, chassis, and the durability, which I quite like. We haven't got a major regulation change reset like this in a while, so you'll see in the background here as I'm talking along about it, we're kind of going through and trying to adapt the kind of biggest part. That's in my mind, that's the kind of best way to do it, because we can, you know, quite easily and for cheaper buy the minor upgrades back, even the major ones really further down the tree. We can get those, but getting the kind of outer tier tree elements is going to be quite important. So I'm going for the kind of the ring around in a kind of circle, doing the outer ones, the outermost ones I can, and then trying to dip in a little bit and do a few major ones here and there, generally leaving most of the minor upgrades on the engine, chassis, and onto durability. Now, I will be upgrading the durability. I will be adapting some of the durability, because I think that's going to be quite important for us, because it's such a short, small season, 16 races. It means that grid penalties mean that much more, and especially with Lewis Hamilton, he's gone so unlucky in the past. He's not been you know, good form, obviously. The last thing I need my teammate, my new teammate, who's going to be, you know, we don't know how he's going to be. This is such an unknown quantity, signing Hamilton, because we don't know if he's going to be the same Hamilton from seasons 1 and 2, or if he's going to continue to be the same dud Hamilton that he's been for the last 3 seasons. And if he is, I can't afford him to have, on top of that, engine penalties that are going to hamper him. And as I said, in such a short season, every single race matters that much more. So that's the overview of what I've gone with. So we haven't been able to adapt everything, but I'm sure every other team won't be able to adapt everything. Everyone will lose some pace going into Season 6, just about relative to how many other R&D points maybe the other AI teams have. It's a complete unknown. I don't know, but I think that's the best we can do. We've done a lot of the ultimate upgrades on the chassis side and the engine. Of course, our engine's changing from Renault to Mercedes, so that in itself is also going to determine a little bit how quick our engine is relative to our other competitors. So let's hope that the Mercedes engine is a pretty decent one for next season. But aero-wise, we're going to go into next season still as the best team on the grid for aero. So that's at least one massive booster compared to maybe the kind of travesty we obviously faced in Season 4 when we went bankrupt. But in Season 5, it was very, very, very tight. The R&D graph was, you know, every team was pretty much on top of one another, and the scaling on the left-hand side is so small compared to the scaling we start off with in My Team Career Mode Season 1. So even if, you know, we lose pace or other teams lose pace a fair amount relative to other teams, it's actually going to be quite quick for everyone to catch back up and get back to where we were in Season 5. Like, I'm talking like, I reckon it'll only take like 2 to 3 races before we're back to where we were in Season 5 in terms of most of the cars being maxed out. So it's not much of a worry, but it's definitely going to affect the start of the season at least. And obviously, as I said, with 16 races, every race will count. So those first few races, you know, if it's damage limitation for us or other teams, it's going to be quite important. But we end off the season, I mean, that's the sticks of it. You know, we got 2 wins, 2 pole positions. We won the championship. We won the Constructors with Pierre Gasly. Meanwhile, Hamilton over there, he's in our overalls now for Season 6. But last season in the Mercedes car, he got 0 wins, 0 pole positions, and he only ended up with 24 points and was 13th in the championship. So make no mistake about it, this is actually a big challenge, because I don't think Hamilton is going to be any better with us. I think he's going to be the same poor one, and we're we're going to have to try and somehow work a way of, making him better, either, trying to help him out in the races strategically, or if we can't improve him, it's going to be a tough fight, because then it's just going to be a one-man team, basically, with me and him not scoring many points, which in itself is a different kind of challenge. So either way, it's going to be a bit tough. But now we confirm our Mercedes power unit for next season as well. So it's the first time on this game entirely that I'll be using the Mercedes power unit, because of course we start off with Honda, and then we went to Renault, and we've stuck with them ever since we changed over in Season 3, wasn't it? And so in terms of the calendar, I spoke briefly there about being there at 16 rounds. We're going to continue with a shortened calendar, short and sweet, makes the season a bit more punchier, a bit more entertaining, but we're going to swap it around a little bit, because in light of the real-life season, if you didn't see on the news, in 2021, it's very likely the Australian Grand Prix is going to be postponed due to, the COVID restrictions and whatnot, and everything still being pretty bad on this side of the world, at least. So I'm going to kind of reflect that in this season's career mode, and we're not actually going to start this season for once at Melbourne, Australia. We're going to start it at Bahrain, where the real-life 2021 season may probably be starting now later this year. Instead, we're going to add on at the end of the season USA, which is not a favourite circuit of mine by any means. It's a challenging circuit, but that's why I want to add it on. It's a challenging one. The AI are very good around there, and it's usually quite a mixed up race as well. And it also gives the back end of the season a little bit of a longer feel once we're done with the European portion of the season, of course. Now, like last season, we're going to continue to have the Mercedes car be back in the kind of original silver Aura livery. That was quite a nice kind of difference, I think, and made the game just feel a little bit fresher, I guess, in a way for last season. And the same thing can be said of the McLaren Gulf Air Racing livery. You guys seem to really like that subtle change with the Gulf Air blue on this side. Obviously, the McLaren team weren't as amazing as they were in Season 4, in Season 5, so let's see if they can kind of get back to former glory, I guess, in this season. And then we come to the Alpine team. Now, last season, I threw together a very quick livery based on the Renault livery, but now we've got a fantastic mod, which is a custom Alpine livery based on the actual FOM car. So I'll leave a link in the description if you fancy checking out for yourselves. A fantastic mod, so big shout out to the person who made it. Really, really awesome, looks lovely, and so that's going to be the brand new Alpine team this year, rather than that kind of bright kind of turquoise blue as it was last season. The Racing Point team will still have the Aston Martin livery. Now, although in real life it seems like BWT won't be a part of the team anymore, I still really like this livery, and I'm yet to find an Aston Martin livery that I really like to install onto the game yet, so we're going to stick with this one for Season 6, and of course the rest of the teams were all the same, and the only remaining team to really talk about, of course, is our team. And so here we are now, finally at the menu screens for the brand new season. Now, I won't bore you guys with the kind of usual standard admin we have to do at the start of the season with the activity timeline, so instead we're going to take a look at the R&D graph, and boy, oi, oi, does it look like we have a bit of a challenge with the car, let alone our teammate, because we're down there as the middleway house, the fifth worst team on the grid, or the how do you want to put this, 7th team on the grid, basically out of 11. So it seems like we've lost actually a lot of pace in the car compared to other teams, and obviously I used all the R&D points I had that I naturally earned over the course of last season. It just looks like the other AI teams earned way more R&D points and were able to adapt way more parts. Although I will say that, do not panic, maybe, and I don't think you should panic if you're wondering maybe, our car's going to be too slow in this series now at the start of the career. Remember, we're still the best team on Aero, and also remember the scaling of that R&D graph is so much different. And so, as I said, we've only got basically essentially minor upgrades and one major upgrade left on the chassis side. So these upgrades are going to come thick and fast. Like, they'll only take one race or two every single time. They won't cost a lot. And it's the same with the engine. We've only got one major engine upgrade to do, and then the rest of them are all minors. So although we're playing catch-up, we can play catch-up very rapidly. And I suspect maybe that some of these AI teams haven't been that clever, and that they might have some majors or even some ultimates to do later on the season, perhaps. I'm talking about the cars around us, AlphaTauri, Red Bull, Racing Point there. So it looks a little bit frustrating to see the car go down that much despite spending everything we could on adapting. But in a way, it just makes the challenge that more interesting. Into a 6th season of this career mode, it keeps things fresh to the fact that I have to play some catch-up on the car, let auto-lone alter with our team at Hamilton, which is a completely unknown, quantity, obviously. And as I said, aero-wise, we're still the best. So the car should feel pretty good. It'll just feel maybe a little bit underpowered, potentially, maybe a little bit heavy or some extra tire wear, but it's nothing I can't handle. Let's have it. And as I said, I'm very confident in a few races we can max out the car basically once again. We'll be right back there. But at the start, it's going to be a bit of a damage limitation, maybe some clever strategies needed to make sure we can maximize points in this car, but it's going to be very exciting. And as I said, I think every team's going to max out their cars once again very, very quickly. So I think within 4 rounds, we're going to have things as close as it was in Seasons 5. So if you're a bit worried about that, don't you worry. I think it's going to be another really close season ahead. But now it's time, probably the moment you've all been waiting for, the car reveal of our brand new Vodafone Mercedes Arava Archer racing car. Let's take it away. Well, there she is, the chrome silver Mercedes Vodafone liveried car. It looks lovely. It's a bit of a modern twist I've done with it, because we've got the black end plates on the front and the rear end. We've got obviously a few of my kind of personal sponsors that we've had in the career mode series so far, with the likes of Nike, Jordan, obviously my actual logo as well on the engine cover and such. But I've also taken a lot of inspiration from the older Vodafone Mercedes McLaren car back in the day. And it may look a little bit dull in this lighting in the menus, but trust me, on track with some proper lighting out there, it looks like that proper silver chrome. Maybe it didn't look like it in that kind of reveal and in the menus anytime you see it, but on track, I mean, look at it. It looks really quite stunning. I think it works really well with our sponsors, and also the kind of, just the shape of the car works really well with it. So excited to see that in action. Hope you guys are, because I know a lot of you were very excited at the prospect of a car like this when you guys voted for Vodafone. So happy to deliver, and it's really exciting to have a completely different looking car. We've obviously had a kind of evolution of the same sort of livery and the color scheme in the first 5 seasons, so it's kind of really nice to completely refresh the lick of paint and have a very nice retro livery in a way that a lot of people still love to this day. And so now finally, as we do with these pre-season videos, we're going to go through the driver market and see what the lineup is and the grid looks like for this brand new season. So Alfa Romeo stay put with Nicholas Latifi and George Russell. No surprise there. They were a backmarker team. There was no reason for the game to kind of change that around, so they're going to stay put. Hopefully they can maybe improve somewhat. We could see those backmarker cars kind of get in. The biggest change to kick things off here is with AlphaTauri. Of course, Sergio Perez retired now for our career mode season, so Luca Giotto is in alongside Valtteri Bottas. Interesting choice. I would have thought there would have been some maybe other F2 drivers that the game could have gone for, but they've chosen Giotto, so that'll be interesting to see how the Italian does. 2 Italians now on the grid, the Giovinazzi, of course. Then Racing Point, the Aston Martin livery Racing Point. So still Albon and Lance Stroll. Of course, Lance Stroll won 3 races last season. So still very exciting as a lineup, to be honest, because Albon was even very good in that Aston Martin car last season. So excited to see how they could do potentially this season, with a bit of a hit to the R&D, of course. So might be playing some catch up. Ferrari, Leclerc and Giovinazzi still there. Interesting dynamic, because Gio was the one who won the most races for Ferrari last season, although Leclerc, I think, did end up still ahead of Giovinazzi in the championship. So there was a bit of an odd kind of power balance and shift throughout that season last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out for season 6, especially with Ferrari looking very strong on the R&D chart this time round. Then we got Haas, Mick Schumacher and Magnussen staying put. Obviously, compared to real life, I guess this would be a lineup that many people would be enjoying. But on to McLaren, Lando Norris and Ocon staying put, obviously, in the Gulf Air. McLaren, as I stated before, they were a little bit poor last season. Weren't as good as they were in season 4, where Norris was fighting for a championship with Sainz. So we'll be looking to see if they can improve this season and bounce back a little bit, get back to that kind of form. Those two, as individuals, they just got so unlucky and just didn't perform consistently enough, really, to challenge anyone last season. Then you've got a very exciting lineup at Mercedes. So we saw Lewis Hamilton and Pierre Gasly, our former teammate, has gone the other way in a direct swap swap. So now, ironically, we've got the Red Bull 2019 lineup of Verstappen v Gasly in the same team. But unlike in real life, I think this will be actually a very strong pairing. But Gasly's now down to 87 rating without our HQ facilities. Now, I really don't know if he's going to be the same Gasly that he was in our team at Mercedes. I kind of hope so, because that would be a very strong, fiery pairing of Verstappen and Gasly. But I just have a hunch that Verstappen will be the team leader, as kind of usual in real life is the case. But I think Gasly, he was very, very rapid, of course. We saw so many times in Season 4, he was getting worryingly, how quick he was on a Saturday. And so many times, he trounced us in Season 4. And Season 5 gave us a very good run for the money in the championship. So it'd be quite exciting to see if he's going to be the same kind of driver as he was for us for the Silver Arrows. Red Bull stayed the same. Carlos Sainz, Daniel Ricciardo. Ricciardo, not too great last season. Sainz also, the reigning world champion last year, not anymore this season, so maybe the pressure's going to be off him, but he kind of didn't do as well as he should have done in the last half of the season to make sure he stayed in the title fight right to the end. So a bit disappointing from those two last year, but obviously everything's reset, everything's new for this season, so let's see how they do. And then we've got the Renaults, Matsushita and Kvyat, of course, the Alpine livery here. A little bit frustrating to have, a very fresh kind of, liquor paint for the Alpine team, but to see this lineup again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's a bit of a tangent here, but it's very, very frustrating that on this year's game, the driver market is just very, very dull. It's too dull in a way. Even this year's real life driver market is more exciting than the one you can get in the game. It's something I've been very critical of for the game. They need to make it more exciting. It's a video game at the end of the day. They need to make it way more tangible where, drivers are moving all about the place basically, especially when you've got, teams like this with Renault where they've made improvements. They've looked pretty quick at times, in previous seasons, and yet they've stayed with a very similar kind of, midfield kind of driver lineup. So, bit of a shame there, but it is what it is. Renault there with Matsushita and Kvyat, and then of course you've got Lewis Hamilton in our car alongside us in that Vodafone livery. 100 rated Hamilton, but obviously that means nothing because he's been 95 rated for the last 3 seasons, and yet he's been so poor, as you would have seen if you did watch the previous career mode season. So that is the driver grid then for Season 6 of my F1 2020 My Team career mode. And it's all rather interesting. We've got Gasly at Mercedes. That's a big unknown. How are Red Bull going to fare again this year? Can Ferrari be way more consistent? And can Leclerc win multiple races to once again challenge for another title like he did in Seasons 2 and 3? You've got Alpine there, maybe lurking around. AlphaTauri as well. And then obviously the big shock last season was Racing Bull and how good they were at times. But they weren't, stable enough to mount a championship fight. Could that change this season? Who knows? And then the big thing for us is just going to be, one, trying to improve the car rapidly to get back to kind of where we were in the pecking order, and then the bigger challenge is just going to be this big unknown factor of Lewis Hamilton's AI. Will he be the AI that we saw in Seasons 1 and 2 now that he's in our team, or will he in fact just be the same very out of form, very bad Lewis Hamilton that we've seen for the last 3 seasons? If he is, it's going to be a big challenge for us to basically be a one-man team, but it's certainly going to be very different. I think the dynamic's going to be very, very different this season compared to last, and that's why I'm excited. Hopefully you guys are, and if you are, be sure to smash the like button. If you enjoyed the preseason video, let me know what you thought about all the changes, and especially that Vodafone livery, of course. And if you're already around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. And round 1 of Season 6 at the Bahrain Grand Prix will begin tomorrow, guys, tomorrow night, so look out for that in your sub box. Till then, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.